Hello and welcome to the 2025 ARWS Japanese Grand Prix from the Okayama Circuit in Japan, of course. Um, on pole for this race is our championship leader, and in fact, it's a front row lockout for the team of Edvard Holm, Simpson Motorsports. Holm coming into this race with a 17-point advantage over Yaël de Bock, who is starting directly behind him on the grid in third place for Team Cascadia, and Simpson very much looking to take advantage of the front row lockout to um, make the most to try and close the gap between themselves and current Constructors Championship leaders Holiday Racing Team. Is a 35-point gap between those two teams, with Euromotor in between them, only 22 points behind Holiday. And of course, after this race, we only have the final showdown at Adelaide to close out the season. Alongside De Bock, on the second row of the grid, we have Michael McManus for Scorpio Racing, the debutant of 2 races ago and reigning AR 3000 champion. Well, reigning from last season. The championship just decided earlier today in the favor of Peter Kapetsky. I think that's how it's pronounced. McManus, of course, won last time out in the rain at Fuji Speedway. Could he make it 2 in a row as the rain continues to follow the ARWS follows the ARWS over here at Okayama. On the third row of the grid, we've got Martin McFry for Foxdale starting in 5th position in car number 5. He is going to be very much hoping that he can finish this race. He's been on a long streak of not finishing races. In fact, I don't think he's finished a single race since the Isle of Man, the Manxie Grand Prix, sorry, in at Derby. So that is a 6-race DNF streak. He'll definitely be hoping to correct that. Starting in 6th for Euromotor, it is Marco Jancher, who has, after back-to-back podiums in Malaysia and at the Lausitzring, and a solid enough 7th place last time out, has moved up into 5th in the Drivers' Championship. Not really a threat for the title. I think it's pretty much a 2-horse race between Holm and De Bock, but Jancher looking to finish off the season strongly and perhaps snatch the Constructors' Championship for Euromotor, which is something I think nobody would have been expecting at the start of the season. On row 4, we've got Ben Fleet for Foxdale. Fleet showing a little bit of improved form over the past few races. We'll be seeing if he can convert that into a solid result here today. Philippe Nicolas down in 8th in qualifying as the Holidays struggled in the wet qualifying. They'll be hoping for better luck in the race. Terry Hawkin will be starting 9th, disappointing qualifying for Hawkin, 5 spots behind his teammate, and he'll be very much hoping to move forward in the race. Tomo Kazuma looking for a better result than last time out at Fuji, in front of our home fans, of course. Bradley Dagnall and Gary Pace are sharing row 6 for Euromotor and Cascadia, respectively. Cascadia also very much in the Constructors Championship fight. I should mention they're 44 points behind Holiday, but with a total of what is that? About 128 points, I think, on offer for a team each weekend. I think that's right. Yeah, 128. It is very possible for a major swing to occur in the Constructors Championship from race to race, depending on who finishes and who doesn't. Naoki Shinjo will be starting 13th and will hoping to be salvage something from this nightmare season for himself and for Team Mecha Racing. He'll be starting alongside Katie May in the Jones. May and Jones's title bids, although the Drivers' Championship bid was more Cameron's than May's, but Jones has faltered the last couple of races. They'll be hoping to right that here today. Václav Malish will be starting 15th for Checkmate. Malish as well, having a bit of bad luck recently. He'll be hoping to bring home a solid points result. Malik Zidane, good qualifying for Zidane for Mecha, starting 16th. But an excellent qualifying for Alberto Cara, starting 17th in the underpowered factory Yangwang. After a rare retirement for the Tropican Racer, he'll be looking to rebound here today. Pierre Saint-Laurent for Bentley, starting 18th. That's a bit of a better result for Saint-Laurent and for Bentley than well, they did run pretty well at the last ring, but very poor performance from them at Fuji. They'll be Saint Laurent at the very least looking a bit more competitive this weekend. Imani Burrell down in 19th for Adriatica, starting alongside Amy Gauthier in the Checkmate. Gauthier all the way up in 4th in the Drivers' Championship through dint of reliability. She seems to have been taking on the mantle from Cameron in recent races for being able to get the car to the finish. And she, in fact, beat out Cameron in qualifying by just 1/1000th of a second, I see there. Aki Yamamura starting alongside Cameron on the 11th row of the grid. We've got both of the peaks on row 12, Aurora Summers out-qualifying Riley Griffith. And on the final row of the grid, it was a very disappointing qualifying session for our reigning champion, Takuma Taki. But he has nowhere to go but up in this race, pretty much, especially considering the relative pace of Li Kexing, who continues to try and acclimatize himself to ARWS competition. And with that, the start of the race is just moments away. And engines are fired here at Okayama. The rain very much set in for the day here as we await the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. And it is go! A solid launch from the Simpsons. Watson there covering off any attempts from De Bock to try and take advantage of the run into the first corner. McFry up into 4th, taking that spot away from McManus. Then it is Nicola from Yauncher, Fleet getting past Yauncher, in fact. Hawkin, Pierre Saint-Laurent, an excellent start from the Canadian. Let's take a quick look at that. And that is a good launch there from Saint-Laurent. And he dives all the way up the inside there and all the way up into 10th place. So a fantastic start there in the wet from Pierre Saint-Laurent, Cosima, Zidane, Pacer, Riley Griffith up to 14th. Bradley Daggle with a poor getaway. Although he's trying to make up ground here as the field finds their footing here in the wet. And that is Final Watson making a move for the lead. And Final Watson takes the lead from his championship contending teammate. So great start there from Final Watson. And I think there might be a bit of damage on Marco Yauncher's car. Indeed, Yauncher somewhere along the way has lost his rear wing. So that is going to be a bit of an issue for Yaramoto in their bid to fight for the Constructors Championship. As we watch the rest of the grid file through the closing sector of the lap, it is Final Watson coming through to lead lap 1. Simpson holding on to the 1 and 2, but it is Watson very much doing everything he can to prove that He belongs in this team and deserves the contract they've handed out to him for 2 seasons. But Prix there, fending off a challenge from Michael McManus. Bradley Dagnall up to 11th. Saint-Laurent's lost a couple of positions there, as we might expect, to the more powerful i3 Turbos. We've got a good start from the Mechas, running 13th and 14th. Zidane getting ahead of Shinjo. KTB, Riley Griffith still hanging on to 16th. It's a good start for Griffith. But a lot of cars held up as we've got another change for the lead. The Simpsons have swapped positions again at the end of the back straightaway. Let's have another look and see what's happened here. Holm with a good exit out of that corner, down the back straightaway, and Watson very sensibly not fighting his teammate too hard, as we see. Also, that is a move, I believe, for 4th place. McManus making the move on McFry, so McManus up to 4th place here. As the Mechas have built a massive gap over KTB in this first lap, as Riley Griffith now starting to lose positions here to the more powerful W12s. It was a poor, in fact, a very poor start for Amrita Kara, who's lost position to both of the peaks. That is not what the Tropican would have been wanting to see at the start of this race. So Holm now leading the race and has just put in the fastest lap of the race with that taking the lead. Watson staying in close proximity in 2nd, and not too far behind is Yaël de Bock in 3rd place, doing what he can to limit any kind of damage that the Simpson duo might be looking to inflict on his championship position. Of course, a long way to go in this race, as we see Amy Gauthier here lining up a move on Riley Griffith for 18th. Not able to complete the move is Gauthier. As we see Václav Malish here now pressuring KT May for 15th. And Naoki Shinjo here with a good run on his teammate and looks to take 13th. Pretty easy work for the Mecha driver. This is the looking like a potentially promising move race for Mecha. We'll hope that they're able to finish this race strongly. It's Yamamura there making a move on Gauthier. Ooh, that's a poor start for Nathaniel Cameron down in 23rd. Takuma Taki in 24th. Li Kexing hanging onto the back of this group. So the Chinese driver looking to make a better impression than he did in his debut, as Ben Fleet looks like he might be coming under threat here from Terry Hawkins for 7th place. And Saint-Laurent now coming under pressure as well from Naoki Shinjo. So Shinjo looking a bit racy in these opening laps. It is Hawkins pressuring Fleet for 7th as he comes out of the out of that corner down the back straightaway. Hawkins ducks out to make the move into the hairpin, and that is pretty easy work for Hawkins. Gets a little bit overcooked into there, but covers off the inside. And Shinjo making a similar move and will take 12th from Saint-Laurent. And there goes Malish. So the hairpin here, very much a favored overtaking spot. Yamamura as well getting around Griffith. And that is Kara putting the move on Summers to move back ahead of the Canadian. Looks here like McManus is starting to close in a bit on Yaël de Bock for 3rd place. Not exactly what the Belgian would be wanting in these opening laps here. Of course, the possibility of different pit strategies could be playing into effect here. We believe the two-stop is probably the favored strategy. Pit window for that opening up about lap 25, with the one-stop strategy expected, those stoppers expected to come in at lap 40 in the first instance, as McManus there makes a bit of a late lunge at the Bock, but backs out of it just in time. Shinjo here still putting in some pretty decent lap times here, so Shinjo showing Mecha's poor standing in the Constructors. Certainly not an effect of their pace, although we always did know, I think, it was more down to their extreme unreliability. His Kara there takes a bit of a lunge at Griffith for 20th. Cameron making the move on Summers for 22nd, as we see Yontra now closing up to the back of the pack here. Holm starting to pull away at the lead of this race. He's built 2 seconds, putting that gap between himself and Final Watson, but Watson doing a sterling job here as a rear gunner, if nothing else, but I'm sure that's probably not what Final Watson wants to be doing here. He's very much here to well, try and win races, of course. McManus all over the back of De Bock, but not making a move on the Cascadia into the hairpin there. As I believe Zidane, it looks like he's closing in on Saint-Laurent for 13th. Don't think he's in a position to make a move, but yes, the Mecha's definitely looking quite racy here today in the wet conditions. As Griffith is now coming under pressure from Alberto Carr for 20th.
Oh Jesus, it's raining a lot.
Yes, it's a very much heavy rain here in Okayama.
Like this.
McManus all over the back of De Bock, still looking for any opportunity to kind of run the Cascadia. He'll want a good exit from this particular corner. The Atwood curve looks to be quite close in behind De Bock. I think he might have a run at the Belgian here. Of course, these two title rivals in AR 3000 last last year, and McManus makes the move. De Bock not fighting that too hard, definitely has the championship in mind, does the Belgian rookie. But up front it is all Edvard Holm. As there we see a very bit of a brave move there by Nathaniel Cameron, but a less aware driver than Riley Griffith might have been caught unawares, as we see Aurora Summers here making a counter-attack on Marco Yontra. So Summers not really particularly interested in rolling over for the much more powerful i3 engine. Yontra, of course, very easily driving back past the peak, but Summers in her own right looking quite racy as well. As we see the field starting to stretch out a little bit here. On lap 8, it is Edvard Holm leading by little under 3 seconds from Final Watson. McManus a further 2 seconds back of the British-Polish driver. De Bock not being dropped by McManus as of yet. So doing what he can to stay as close as he can to the championship leader, the man he's fighting for that ARWS crown this season. As I believe Pacer seems to be actually closing in on Tomo Kazuma. Kazuma, not sure what's the, perhaps the pressure getting to Kazuma in front of her home fans. She's been looking a bit more muted pace-wise than we typically expect from her. At least from what we've seen from the Japanese racer through most of the season in the holiday. Meanwhile, Terry Hawkin pressuring Cosmo's teammate for 6th place here. Of course, these two old title rivals fought for the World Championship in 2018, along with Alberto Cara and Hawkin. Will take 6th place from Nicola. He's already gotten around Ben Fleet. Cosmo keeping the safe distance over Pacer, though, in the battle for 9th. As we see Yontra continue to recover through the field, he's gotten around Alberto Cara. Now, next up on his list, it's Amy Gauthier in 19th. Holm continuing to lead here in these opening laps, and that's going to be 19th for Yontra. But Edvard Holm is doing everything he needs to do to put himself in the best possible position for winning the championship this season. I believe he does indeed hold the fastest lap in these opening laps. So Holm definitely not leaving anything on the table here. Wants to put himself in the best possible position to claim that title once we head to Adelaide. As Riley Griffith there gets a little bit out of shape through the first corner. Got on the grass, but avoided losing control of her peak, as we see here. Yontra now making it around one of the Adriaticas, that is Yamamura. So Yontra up to 18th now. Doing what he can to limit the damage from that opening lap collision and maintain Euromotor's hopes of winning a Constructors Championship. As we now see Holmes extended that lead to over 3.5 seconds over his teammate Final Watson. Pierre Saint-Laurent hanging on to 13th so far, but Jinzhou has very much left the Bentley in his dust. In fact, not too far behind Bradley Dagnall. So this is a fantastic bit of driving. In fact, faster than the Euromotor on the last lap was now Jinzhou. So Jinzhou doing everything he can to put back in the best possible position in this race. So, meanwhile, in the battle for the leading positions, does seem very much we are in pace order. Holm pulling away from Watson, Watson pulling away from McManus, and McManus pulling away from De Bock. De Bock now with a 5.5 second gap over Martin McCry. Hawkin, though, closed in a little bit on the Northern Irish driver on the last lap by a couple tenths of a second. So Hawkin trying to make up for his poor qualifying efforts. Starting, of course, 6 positions behind his teammate. Not the best way to be making an impression on the ARWS paddock, as he continues to contend, put his name forward as a candidate to get back onto the grid full-time next season. As we see now, Holm has caught Li Kexing. Li here, the last car running on the track, and very easily allows Holm through to lap the young one driver. It's going to be a bit of a long race there for Li Kexing, but if he can keep it on the track and avoid any unnecessary collisions, I think we can count that as a success for his development, I suppose. Malish, it seems, has caught up to Zidane for 14th. Yoncher has gotten around Burrell for 17th. And Kara here is, in fact, all over the back of Amy Gauthier for 20th. So, in spite of his poor getaway, Kara does seem to have a fair bit of race pace in that young one. Is Holm there putting a lap on Takuma Taki, our reigning champion, all the way down in 25th, has not improved his position from the start of this race. Still running nowhere near the peaks in front of him. This is whatever is going on with Takuma Taki. He does not seem to be getting on at all with this Bentley. I believe I've been hearing rumors that Bentley have already made a decision on one of their drivers for next season. I believe they may have reached an agreement with Dave Cassidy, although there's been no formal announcement yet. But the rumors seem to suggest that the former Formula 1 driver will be returning to single-seaters after a few years driving in the TCR World Tour. Meanwhile, Holm is definitely finding his feet out there. Oh my goodness! Oh, Yaël de Bock! Oh, that is
Oh wait.
that is Li Kexing there. And not too long ago, I said if Li Kexing could keep it out of trouble, that'd be a success for him. But he got very much crossed up there, trying to allow de Bock through, and that was very lucky for Yaël de Bock not to break his front wing. Has broken the rear wing of Kexing, and his young one will have to come in for an unscheduled pit stop to get that replaced. So that was a near miss for de Bock, but that is that is not what he needs to be having happen to him when Edvard Holm is having a fantastic drive in the lead of this race, nearly 6 seconds ahead of Final Watson, who's been having some issues with this traffic. Michael McManus has closed up to the back of Watson. Watson putting Taki between himself and the Scorpio driver. But McManus now within a second of the second Simpson in the running order. De Bock also not that far behind, so I suppose the situation could definitely be worse for Yaël de Bock, but with Holm now having a 7.5 second advantage over Watson, this race is looking more and more like it's going to be a very solid one for Holm's title hopes, as we've got a transmission failure on the checkmate of Amy Gauthier. And Gauthier will be our first retirement in this race after just 14 laps for the French woman. That will certainly, I think, end any hopes checkmate have of potentially taking a Constructors Championship. Okay. I don't know why Gauthier was appearing over on the other side of the track, but maybe that was just a glitch in our broadcast here. In any event, it doesn't seem to have affected much. And Watson taking a little bit of time back out of Edvard Holm on that previous lap. And McManus also losing a bit of time to Watson, so Watson's progress very much delayed by the traffic and not any issues he might be having in those wet conditions. This is probably not the place where Watson would have been wanting to catch. Oh no! Well, even worse is the fact that Final Watson has a water leak, and his Jetstar badged engine is done. Oh, that's going to be very disappointing for Watson, and definitely for Simpson. Their Constructors Championship hopes took a blow here today. Not sure if they would have been able to hang on to the 1-2 as they were running, but it definitely looked good for them. And, of course, losing Watson that early, the British-Polish driver will be only scoring 2 points at the end of this one, unless he somehow gets fastest lap points, which I'm not sure he will, but we'll see at the end of the race, I suppose. This Yaël de Bock here held up a bit by Riley Griffith through the curve. Fortunately, does not suffer a repeat of what happened with Li Kexing a little earlier. So Holm's lead is now 9.5 seconds from Michael McManus. Once again, having a very strong race is the Scotsman. Fastest lap on his debut at the Lausitz Ring. Pole and a very convincing win at Fuji Speedway, and now running second here in Okayama, only behind the championship leader. Who is having a very controlled drive and has put another second between himself and McManus, so Holm's position at the front of this race looks very secure indeed. Still, as we see Summers there getting lapped by one of the Cascadians, I believe that was in fact Yaël de Bock. So yeah, Holm, for his championship hopes, he would probably be hoping to have a little bit worse of a race that he's having right now, but Holm does hold the fastest lap, which of course carries with it 20 bonus points. I think actually Watson might be getting some bonus points for the fastest lap. I'm not sure. I do recall his fastest lap was in the 119s, but unfortunately now that he's retired, we don't have any visibility of that. But these are the limitations we have to work with. As Taki, they're getting lapped by Ben Fleet. Getting well out of the way of the Foxdale driver is Taki. This Cameron there having a lot of grip issues through the first corner. Struggling down in 20th position. And 4.5 seconds behind Alberto Cara in the Yonglong. Not one of Cameron's best drives, it is fair to say, he's having today. As Yauncher is continuing to recover through the field, he is up to 13th position. Dagnall still under pressure a little bit from Naoki Shinjo. So this is a fantastic drive that Naoki Shinjo is having here today. At the risk of being very biased here, I'm really hoping Naoki Shinjo finishes this race. He's had such a miserable year. It would be great for him if he gets a very solid result as he's on course to be doing here. Jancher's gotten around Václav Malish with 12. Malish has also passed Pierre Saint-Laurent. So Malish having a good run here today. So that'll cheer up Checkmate a little bit. After Gautier's early retirement, of course. We see McManus here has caught Cameron to lap the Jones. Oh, goodness, and Cameron there not checking his mirrors. That was almost disaster for Michael McManus and for Nathaniel Cameron, who manages to keep it on the track there, but that was definitely a lot closer than it needed to be. McManus tried to force his way to the inside. Cameron did leave a bit of space there, but evidently didn't think McManus was going to stick his nose in there. Fortunately, no harm, no foul, and Cameron there gets well out of the way of Yaël de Bock. Holm there thought twice about sticking out the inside of Burrell there, but evidently trusted the Bermudan enough, and she did give the championship and race leader enough room, as I believe Nathaniel Cameron's race has gone from bad to worse, and the transmission has failed, and his race also comes to a very premature end. So after a long string of reliability to open this season, Nathaniel Cameron encountering quite a few mechanical issues, and he'll only be collecting points for 24th today. As we see Shinjo still all over the back of Bradley Dagle. So Shinjo having a fantastic race here so far. In fact, I think he's coming up to lap Takuma Taki. As Dagle, gets all out of shape there. Shinjo very patient with the Euromotor. I think Shinjo knows even if he gets around Dagle, the Euromotor will just pass him on the next straight anyway. So that is the kind of savvy that did allow him to finish second in the standings in 2023. And that he's been able to show far too little this season. As that is Lee Kishin getting lapped by Pierre Saint-Laurent. And Lee perhaps learning his lesson from earlier in this race when he just lost his rear wing through not getting sufficiently out of the way of Yaël de Bock. Meanwhile, de Bock staying close enough to Michael McManus, within 2.5 seconds of the second place driver currently in this race. So, definitely, de Bock could vault back ahead of McManus should Cascadia work out the strategy to do so. The pace differential certainly not that terribly different between the two. The second and third place cars. So we see Alberto Cara here, not too far behind Okayama, but of course getting out of the way as McManus and De Bock continue with their battle for second place. In fact, that bit of lap traffic definitely hurt McManus on that previous lap because De Bock closed in within 2 seconds. So that is the kind of driving De Bock's going to need to be putting in today, because Holm looks very imperious out in front of this field. Nearly 13 seconds ahead of McManus is the Dane. As we see Prix down in 4th place. Not really challenging the podium as things stand currently, but doing enough to fend off Terry Hawken for now. Nicola still...
Boy.
Sorry?
It's my boy Terry Hawkins.
Yeah. And that is Nicola down in 6th. Fleet hanging on to 7th so far. Kozlema, after being threatened a little bit by Gary Pacer earlier, has put a bit of a gap between herself and the Canadian. Dagnall has freed himself from the pressure of Naoki Shinjo, I think, as Shinjo got held up lapping Kumataki earlier in this race, and Yoncher has moved up all the way into 12th place, so Yoncher having a spectacular drive so far in this race. Not nearly as much as Edvard Holm, of course, but still a very good drive. Recovering from that broken rear wing is Marco Yoncher having. So I believe we have a early pit stop for Gary Pacer. Is because the Cascadia has a bit of a sticky throttle. So they bring in the Vancouver native to get that fixed and send him back out on his way. But Pacer now back in 12th place. But unfortunately, that throttle issue not terminal for him. As Kara continues to pressure Yamamura for 18th place. So despite that poor start, Kara definitely showing he has quite a bit of race pace available to him today. Manus has, in fact, opened the gap back up to about 2.5 seconds between himself and Bock. And Hawking just marginally quicker than McCry over the previous couple of laps, so Hawking might have something for McCry. But probably a little bit disheartened to know that he's currently 16 seconds or so behind Michael McManus. Sorry, 14 seconds. I miscounted there, but that's further back than he'd like. But that is the price of qualifying 6 positions behind your teammate. So the pit stop window has opened for the 2-stopper. Nobody coming in for a scheduled stop as of yet. Of course, we did see Gary Pacer's Katie May has spun and broken her front wing. So she'll have to be making a pit stop here. And if she's not already on the 2-stop, she'll effectively be doing that today. Because continuing with a broken front wing is not going to do her any favors. Just carrying a bit too much speed through that corner was Katie May, and she very much paid the price for it. as we are now past the 1/3 distance mark in this Grand Prix. Edvard Holm's lead seems to have stabilized a bit, about 11 seconds between himself and Michael McManus, as we've got a couple of cars coming into the pits. It is Václav Balish and Edvard Holm. So Edvard Holm, evidently that's where a lot of the pace is coming from for Edvard Holm on the two-stopper and a very light fuel load. That will hand the lead to Michael McManus. We also see May come in to replace her broken front wing. So McManus now leads from Yaël de Bock. Balish and Holm return to the track. Holm coming out just behind Martin McFry is probably not what the Dane would have preferred. Probably would have preferred being ahead of McFry, but he's would have been in this traffic regardless. So he'll have to very quickly get his elbows out and start making some moves. Though he does, of course, have the 11-second advantage. We're not sure if McManus or De Bock are... Oh, no, my goodness! And Edvard Holm has broken his front wing on the back of Alberto Gara. And that is the danger of releasing your race leader into a bunch of traffic. Holm, with these fresh intermediates, trying to fight his way through a bunch of cars which are slower than him. Kara there, not entirely sure what the Tropican is doing, cannot pick a line down the back straight away, and Edvard Holm commits to the outside. Kara moves to the outside for some reason and breaks the front wing of Holm, so I think that might put the Tropican under a post-race investigation. That was entirely unnecessary, as Ben Fleet is retiring from this race. And Fleet's race also ends early. There's must have damaged a wheel somehow, perhaps over the curbs or something. But yeah, Fleet's not able to get that back to the pits. His day is done. So Edvard Holm here having to make an extra pit stop, as we now see McManus is pitting. So Michael McManus on a similar strategy to Edvard Holm. So this could very well, this is ideal situation for Michael McManus, and especially, of course, for Yaël de Bock, who could, in fact, potentially be, well, it would depend on if Holm can hang on to the fastest lap of the race. Of course, the 20 bonus points for the fastest lap of the race, 10 bonus points for second fastest, and 2 points for the third fastest lap. That could make all the difference as to who is where in the standings heading into the Australian Grand Prix, the final showdown of this 2025 season. But all of a sudden, Yaël de Bock's situation getting a little bit more in favor of the Belgian. As we see here, McManus, after his pit stop, making very short work of Philippe Nicolas. And definitely enjoying being on those fresh tires, as he's already rocketing up to the back of his teammate. That is probably not what Terry Hawkin would be wanting to see. And that is going to be frustrating Michael McManus, as he's forced to the pace of Hawkin. Hawkin called into the pits, though, with an electrical issue. Oh, goodness. And Terry Hawkin, that is one problem he didn't need to be having here today. It's Katie May, despite breaking her front wing, still puts a lap on Li Kexing before half distance. Though, of course, Kexing also had to make an extra unscheduled pit stop, as we've got another car into the pits. It is Marco Jancher. So that is an interesting strategy call from Euromotor. They're keeping Jancher effectively on a free stop strategy here. Evidently, they're liking what they see from the pace of Jancher on fresh tires and low fuel, and evidently wanting to keep the Austrian on that situation for as long as they can in this race. De Bock still leading here. No sign of De Bock making his way into the pits as we see Jancher released. And De Bock in a bit of a traffic jam at the moment as he tries to find a way around the outside and does so indeed on Malik Zidane. Enjoys a 15.5 second lead over Martin McFly, does Yaël de Bock, and that is a 22, nearly 23 second advantage over Michael McManus. We'll be seeing very shortly if De Bock is indeed on the 2 or 1 stop strategies. Aki Yamamoto's race comes to a premature end as well. Oh goodness! And that is very similar to what happened to Nathaniel Cameron earlier, but Yamamoto not able, taking a wide entry into the Williams corner, and McManus sticking it up the inside, having absolutely no interest in wasting time behind the Adriatica, and that is Yamamoto into the barrier and out of the race. So we see Edvard Holm here, all over the back of Tomo Kazuma, looking for 5th place. Is the Dane trying to close back in on Michael McManus, who he very much would like to get back ahead of. It is a roughly a, what is the gap between them? 15.5 seconds. So not completely insurmountable, but definitely suboptimal is the situation for Edvard Holm at present. Naoki Shinjo has made his first pit stop and comes out ahead of Marco Jancher. Jancher likely will be getting back around the Mecca before too long, though. The box lead has shrunk to 14 seconds, and that would be why, because that is a lot of traffic that the Cascadia driver was at to get around, and Pierre Saint-Laurent puts a lap on his teammate. Oh my goodness, and that is a very disastrous race for Takuma Taki. Very fair to say that he'll be... Oh, and he's getting very much in the way of Malik Zidane as well as Taki. Not sure what's going on with Takuma Taki this season, but he is not having a good time of it, to say the least. Philippe Nicolas has made his first pit stop of the race. Comes out ahead of Bradley Dagnall. I don't think Dagnall's pitted yet, and neither has Gary Pacer. Or has Pacer pitted, I'm not sure. I don't think Pacer's pitted. So how did he fall behind Dagnall? Oh well, that's the situation now. Yeah. Pacer definitely looks like he's got a pace advantage over Dagnall as of right now. As Dagnall laps past the peak there. No opportunity for Pacer to get around the Brit. Meanwhile, Terry Holkin is still ahead of this group, but behind Tomo Kazuma. Edvard Holm has recovered up to 4th place, 16.5 seconds behind Michael McManus, but half a second quicker than the Scotsman on the previous lap. McManus now just 3.2 seconds behind Martin McFly. Still no move to pit from McFly or our race leader, Yaël de Bock. This Pacer all over the back of Dagnall, trying to put Dagnall under pressure and take the 8th place away from the Euromotor driver. Have to see if he can carry a good exit from the outward curve. He's all over the back of Dagnall's Euromotor. But as ever, Dagnall enjoying the straight line speed of the Euromotor to gain a little bit of an advantage over Pacer. And the Canadian elects not to make a lunge up the inside. As McManus has taken 2 seconds out of Martin McFry on that previous lap, so McManus is definitely got the pace advantage right now over the cars ahead of him, as you might expect with fresh tires. So I think at this stage, probably fair to say that McFry and De Bock on the one-stop strategy. As Taki, they're getting in way in the way there, as Riley Griffith is going to try and take advantage of all of this and takes 19th away, and McManus locks up, and Taki loses his rear wing, so it goes from bad to worse to Takuma Taki. And his season continues to just unravel here. Yantra's gotten around Naoki Shinjo and taken 10th place away from the Mecha driver. Still a solid showing for Shinjo today. McManus, though, quite lucky not to have lost his front wing and all of that. Pierre Saint-Laurent has pulled into the pits, and oh my goodness. You cannot make it up. It's another engine failure for Naoki Shinjo. The Hondas have been atrocious for Mecha. And after a spectacular drive, it's just not going to be his year. Takuma Taki has made it back to the pits to replace his rear wing. And he is, at this stage, gonna be falling behind Lee Kashing. And that just goes to show how awful Taki's race has been. You know, Casey May is up in 14th place. Not too bad for the Irishwoman, given her earlier spin off at the Williams corner. And we've got Yaël de Bock, our race leader, into the pits. He's not able to stretch it out into a one-stop territory. So, de Bock electing, I think, to run this stint perhaps a little bit long and make a charge at the end of the race. Martin McFry takes over the race lead, but I don't think it's going to be for long, because right behind him on the racetrack is Michael McManus, and Václav Malish there has absolutely no interest in getting out of the way of the battle for the race lead. McManus sends it up the inside and will take the lead into the Atwood curve, so Michael McManus reclaims the lead here. As we are just short of the half-distance mark. Yaël de Bock returns to the track in 3rd place. Not too far ahead of Edvard Holm, but he's got the track position over his title rival. And in terms of the fastest lap, there's been no improvement from McManus or de Bock as of yet, although we'll see what Yaël de Bock's able to do on these fresh tires. Hawken all over Nicola, looking for, Kazuma, and with the young one there of Kara, Hawken backs out and elects not to press the issue. Pacer still all over the back of Dagnall, and I think Pacer's gonna make a move or not. Just not enough straight line speed for the Cascadia, and he'll have to bide his time. Next is Katie May looking to take 13th from Imani Burrell into the first corner, and she'll get that move done pretty cleanly. As Hawken now gonna have to gather himself back up for another go here at Tomo Kazuma. Kazuma and McFry, it seems, going for the one-stop strategy. I guess Dagnall and Pacer might also be as, I think I saw a change for position, but I think I must have been mistaken. Can close him back in on the back of the Holiday. This is effectively a battle for position. Both of these drivers still one stop to make in this race. As Malashir's caught up to the back of Sedan, and Gary Pacer's got the move done. Oh goodness, and that is the young one of Kishing, Lee Kishing, getting badly in the way there. But Pacer with a very late lunge, and ooh, got his elbows out, did Gary Pacer, and he's broken the front wing of Bradley Dagnall. I don't think the stewards will be taking a very good look at that, opinion of that, but I guess when you've got to get the move done, you've got to get the move done. It's probably going to cost Pacer more than he's earned in track position. Hawkin gathers a run here on Kazuma up into the first corner, and Hawkin takes 5th place back. So McManus has now built a 4-second lead over Martin McFry. De Bock still closing in on the Foxdale driver as Bradley Dagnall comes in to make his pit stop, and I was going to say one and only pit stop of this race, but they're not refueling that car. I guess despite their Constructors Championship position, Euromotor is still going to be Euromotor. But yes, McFry in 2nd place here. Right behind him, though, is Yaël de Bock. And McFry very much struggling on those tires. Hoping that the track position he's going to gain will be offsetting the time he's losing right now. Of course, McManus and De Bock and Edvard Holm all still have one more stop to make in this race. So despite the pace differential, McFry's looking good here. He'll just be hoping that he doesn't stay out too much longer. As Holm is... Actually, let's take a look at the lap times here between our leaders. So McManus on the previous lap was a 1:20.8. De Bock has gotten around to McFry there. That looks like a lot of smoke coming out of the back of McFry. I don't think that's spray. That's an engine problem. Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. McFry. He's had some really good races recently, but just has not had the reliability. And it's going to be another day when Martin McFry's car has failed him. So, McManus and De Bock on that previous lap running very similar lap times. Edvard Holm was a smidgen quicker than the pair of them, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough to close the gap back down to the 2 cars ahead of them. So Terry Hawkin coming through. See what kind of lap time he's putting up currently, and yeah, he doesn't really have the pace of the cars ahead of him. Oh goodness, Zidane is out. Oh my goodness, he's put himself in the same position as Aki Yamamura, and that is exactly what has happened to Yamamura. Opened the door, and just did not think that Holm would put his go in to try and make the move. That's going to also cost our championship leader a bit of time, but fortunately that car is not damaged. But Zidane car is definitely done. See Griffith there just getting lapped by Katie May. And that is Martin McFry's car also pulled off to the side of the road. His day, once again, for the seventh race in a row, I should say, is done. Oh my goodness, and Yaël de Bock! Yaël de Bock is out of the race! Oh no! The Ford engine has developed a water leak, and Yaël de Bock, his title challenge might well be done here today. And that is exactly what Edvard Holm would be wanting to see, is his title rival out at the side of the road. If Edvard Holm can finish this race and gain 33 points on Yaël de Bock. Well, no, not 33. He'll need 53 points on Yaël de Bock. So, actually, that would be a tall order. So, it might not actually be, the championship might not actually be done here, but this is looking very good for Edvard Holm and his hopes of winning the championship here today. He's got a 16-second gap between himself and Michael McManus, but he is in a fantastic position. Still holding the fastest lap of the race is Edvard Holm. And although he's not closing in terribly quickly on McManus, he's certainly not under any pressure from behind. Terry Hawken there running in third place. Tomo Cosma has been caught by her teammates, so this is a internal battle between the Holidays for fourth place. Nicola on the two-stop strategy, Cosma on the one-stop, so Cosma will be called in pretty shortly, you would think, and she is not going to delay her teammate too badly here. Roger Kara's up into 14th place and has not pitted yet, I don't believe, so this is a good race from Kara. Pacer, yes, definitely under investigation for that avoidable contact with Bradley Dagnall. So, that's not what Gary Pacer would be wanting, considering his future in ARWS very much in doubt after what's been a very disappointing season for Pacer. Although probably not as much as Takuma Taki's disappointing season. Taki at least has gotten back ahead of Li Kexing, but is nowhere near Riley Griffith. In fact, he's probably about... Well, we'll see here when he comes over the line, but I don't think he's close in the slightest to the peak 23 seconds. That's, yeah. That's not a good day in the office. Especially... Ooh. Cosma there chopping at the nose of Amani Burrell. Not sure what that was about, but... yeah, Taki's bad day in the office is very much highlighted by the fact that Pierre Saint-Laurent is having a very good race. Contending with the likes of Vaslan Malish. Well, not too... about 11 seconds behind Malish. 1.5 seconds behind Katie May, although May, of course, did have that spin earlier. And running about 9 seconds ahead of Amani Burrell, who has... they've generally been the class of the W12 cars on pace this season. That's another lap in the books for Michael McManus as we've got Aurora Summers coming into the pits with a broken rear wing. I suspect that was contact with Michael McManus on the back straightaway. But Summers probably was due to pit very shortly anyway. So McManus's previous lap was a 1:21.4. Holm takes another half second out of McManus, but that is not the kind of pace differential he's going to want if he's going to close down this 15-second gap. And of course, McManus probably was delayed a little bit, considering he probably had a bit of contact with Summers, who returns to the track in 14th place. Ooh! And had to give way there to Pierre Saint-Laurent, who was attacking that first corner very aggressively. Oh no, and Marco Jansscher. He put in a solid race to recover from the lap 1 incident, but cannot get it back to the pits with the loose wheel, apparently. Ooh, yeah, so looks like it just collapsed on him on the last corner. That's really unfortunate for the Austrian, but it's going to be a blow to Euro Motors Constructor Championship bid. McManus once again held up by Li Kashing. It's going to allow Edvard Holm to close in a bit more for this race lead. Still 27 laps to go in the Japanese Grand Prix. The gap now 13.5 seconds between our leading pair. Asa Malish is up in the 8th place. This will definitely be a relief to Malish after having some reliability issues and pretty unfortunate collision on the first lap of the German Grand Prix, which took him out of that one. Terry Hawkin currently 31 seconds, nearly 32 seconds behind his teammate as we've got Tomo Kazuma making the pit stop. Her one and only scheduled pit stop of this race. And she'll return to the track in a safe 6th place. Taki is back into the pits. I'll try and get him to finish the race from here. So with clear track on the previous lap, McManus was running about 0.4 of a second slower than Edvard Holm. So we got Gary Pacer into the pits and Amani Burrell. Pacer will return to the track in 6th place as there goes Tomo Kazuma back up into 5th. The Holiday's not having a lot of pace here on this track. This track does not really seem to suit their car, and especially in the wet weather. We've got a low downforce design philosophy on this car, and does not suit this track or its conditions currently. But they're both still running in 4th and 5th, and that's the kind of thing that will win you a Constructors Championship, is when you can salvage that kind of result from this kind of race for you. So we've got Katie May now making her final pit stop of this race, scheduled anyway. Lee there getting out of the way of Edvard Holm. We've got 16 cars still running in this race, and May will return to the track just behind Alberto Cara, who still hasn't pitted, I don't think. Indeed, he's just been called into the pits by his young crew. Bradley Daggle pits from 7th place. Should easily hang on to that. There goes that's Holm. Malish still making his way through the final few corners here. So Dagnall seems nailed on pretty much for 7th place as he comes out between Li Ka-shing and Takuma Taki. Taki does not need to make another pit stop. I think Ka-shing Lee still needs to make another pit stop here. And Taki passes him anyway, of course. Got another car entering. Oh yeah, that is Cara entering the pits. Definitely one of Cara's stronger races for quite a while. Should return to the track in a very strong 12th place. Although the cars ahead of him, Burrell and May, don't need to make another pit stop. I think Saint-Laurent and Malish may need to, but I think they've got enough of a gap over Cara to avoid dropping behind the Tropican in the running order. Holmes only chipped away another half second to Michael McManus since I last checked. It's he's definitely the quicker of the two, but McManus is doing what he needs to do to keep that lead intact and potentially claim his second successive in just 3 career starts. Very much appears that the controversial decision by Scorpio team boss Kane Redgrave to replace both Taki and Vozu as their drivers has paid off massively, because we got McManus looking at potentially 2 wins in 3 races, and Hawkin looking at 3 successive podiums, even if he is seemingly struggled to match the pace of McManus. McManus, of course, has been the reserve driver for Scorpio, and so has probably a bit more experience than Hawkin in this car, but it's still very impressive for McManus as a ARWS rookie to be displaying this kind of pace advantage over his more experienced former ARWS champion teammate. Almost taking another half second out of McManus. Again, even if he's half a second a lot quicker, he won't catch McManus before the end of the race, so Holm's gonna need to find something to find something extra to close that gap in, and Bradley Dagnall's race is over, and so is I think Euromotor's hopes of claiming the constructors. The Ford has called time on his race. That's a double DNF for Euromotor. I can't remember the last time we've actually seen one of those. They used to be an everyday occurrence, but the last time we had both Euromotors actually retire from a race was, it wasn't that long ago. It was the Rivière Noire Grand Prix back in Saint-Air. But still, that was 4 consecutive races where they only had one non-classified finish. So that's some kind of reliability. And we're now down to just 15 cars still running in this race. That is Riley Griffith making an absolute meal of the Atwood curve, but she's still running in 35.5 seconds ahead of Takuma Taki, and probably due to make another pit stop before too long. McManus actually lost a couple seconds to Holm on that previous lap. That's the kind of thing that Holm's going to need. McManus might have got held up in a bit of traffic here. Holm, I think, will be a little bit more fortunate where he catches the lap car, at least, of Alberto Cara. Terry Hawkin and Philippe Nicola lapping similar lap times. Kazuma actually closing in a little bit on the pair of them. They both need to make another pit stop, but the pace advantage might allow them to overhaul Kazuma at the end of the race on fresh tires once they made their second pit stops. Car was in fact almost a second quicker than Amani Burrell in that previous lap. Carr is having an absolutely brilliant race in this one. He's put a 46-second gap between himself and Aurora Summers, who is the next closest car to him on similarly powered engine. So that is some spectacular pace from Kara, you have to say. We see Taki holding up Terry Hawkin a little bit here, it seems. Hawkin does have about 8 seconds to over Philippe Nicola. Taki there, just seemingly just without a care in the world with how he's been driving. Just no pace, but absolutely no interest in. Oh my goodness, Bonnie Burrell is retired from the race, but Taki without any care in the world with how other cars are running relative to him. see here what happened to Amani Burrell. She's, oh goodness, and she's just driven right to the back of the peak. Oh goodness. And those two cars got absolutely locked together. Just destroyed the rear end of Amani Burrell, and her day is done. Oh, that's a shame for her and for Adriatica, who've really been having a tough time of it this season. I mean, I honestly, I think that was a racing incident, though, between those two. Like, Burrell trying to force her way through on the inside, as we've seen a few drivers try to do through that corner. And that is the risk you take when you make that kind of move on the lap car. And once those two cars got locked together, there was not really much Riley Griffiths could do to avoid that outcome, really. Holm has brought the gap between himself and McManus down to 8.7 seconds, as we are now on lap 53, but Holm now catching Cara and Griffith in a less than ideal spot on the racetrack. Griffith here getting in the way of Cara, and Cara in turn getting in the way of Edvard Holm. And trying to force his way around the outside of that corner. That is goes to show the seriousness which Holm wants to reduce that gap to McManus, but he's having to take it carefully here with Yaël de Bock out of the race. Holm has to finish this race in order to maximize the advantage he has in going to the final round of the season. So he's lost 3 seconds on that previous lap, but what's 3 seconds when you're still running and your main title rival isn't? And of course, Holm does have a 25.5 second advantage on Terry Hawkins, so no threat to Holm from behind. That's another lap in the books for McManus. He starts lap 55. Holm coming through here. And once again puts in a very similar lap time to McManus. So I think Holm perhaps settling a little bit for second place with the way things are running currently. Oh goodness, and Tomo Cosma has lost her front wing! Oh my goodness, what was Li Ka-shing doing? That was entirely unnecessary. Get another view from onboard Ka-shing here, and just hold on. Okay, so from onboard Cosma, it looks like Ka-shing Li moves over on her. But from onboard Ka-shing Li, yeah, he does move over very slightly here. Just did not seem to check his mirrors at all. So that is another avoidable incident for Lee, and might be earning himself a trip to the stewards as a result of that. And that's going to hand 5th place over to Gary Pacer. And Kozma pretty much nailed on for 6th place. And Lee certainly not earning himself any friends today. Oh, good. We've got another car off. And it's Takuma Taki. And his race mercifully ends. He was not going to finish much better than 13th unless I was at further retirement. So, his day is done here after 55 laps or so, or probably fewer than that. Yeah, I think he was multiple laps down. So I think we're just waiting for the final pit stop for the 2 stoppers. The window has opened. Haven't seen anybody come in to take advantage of it yet. It's been a really good race for Václav Malish. He's not had a good he's not been able to have a good finish since let's see here. Okay, back in Malaysia, he did manage to pick up a 7th place there, which is where he's running today. But he had 2 very early retirements on days in the Lausitzring and Fuji Speedway, where he probably could have picked up a very good pole points and kept checkmate in the fight for the constructors. Although that said, he's only running about 6.5 seconds ahead of Pierre Saint-Laurent, who's really having a good race here. Bentley has had definitely their woes this season. But Saint-Laurent seems to have found something setup-wise around the Okayama circuit. And is definitely keeping Malish honest for that 7th place, as we've got another car pulling off to the side of the road, and it is Katie May, an oil leak, and her VW engine calls time on her race. And the once vaunted reliability of Jones at the start of the season is rapidly disintegrating. This is definitely a disappointment for that team. and that is Malish coming into the pits and opening up the final set of pit stops here. That's Solaron going through into 7th. I think he'll need to come in himself shortly. But with the retirements of May and Burrell, Malish looks pretty safe here to finish at least 8th, probably 7th. And here is Alberto Carr to put a lap on his teammate. I should say 2 laps on his teammate. And Lee there at least gets out of the way of his teammate, who is 2 laps ahead of him. Both of these drivers under investigation for avoidable contact. Riley Griffith is pitting with a broken rear wing. I think that might have been contact with a different Scorpio this time. In case she needed to make a second pit stop, so might as well make it then. And she's not under any pressure from behind. The other car behind her on the racetrack in the running order is Li Ka-shing, who is having a very big learning experience here, to put it charitably. Kaza there having a bit of trouble around the hairpin, but she keeps it on the track and pointed in the right direction. Solaron now ducks into the pits. So it should restore Malish back to 7th place. There he goes down the pit straight. And Solaron will return in 8th. Edvard Holm is into the pits for his final stop. He should very easily return to the track ahead of Terry Hawking. He built half a minute over the Scorpio before coming into the pits. And it's only just now that Hawk is coming out of the final corner. Holm already back out on track. And our race leader immediately covers off any attempt at an undercut from Holm. McManus into the pits for his final stop of the day. McManus should easily return to the track in the race lead here. Holm just coming out of the final Well, actually, no, that's not Holm. That's Alberto Cara, but yes, McManus well out in front. Holm only just coming out of the final corner by the time that McManus is already out of the first corner. The gap between the pair of them, too big for Holm to make up in like 7 laps or so. Nicolas coming into the pits here. Actually, this could put Nicolas behind Pacer, because Pacer, I don't think he needs to pit again. So Pacer looking to at least salvage a 4th place for Cascadia, although he'll be one of those drivers investigated for avoidable contact with, of course, Bradley Dagnall earlier in the race. And just to underline that, his fastest lap, Edvard Holm there with a 1:18.6. That is gonna ensure he hangs on to the fastest lap, and I think that's gonna be enough for him to put any hopes of staying in the title fight out of Yaël de Bock's reach. Let's see here. He's on course for 18, 16. He's on course for at most, I think, 18 points here, because I think he wasn't able to match McManus's fastest lap. We've got Kazuma into the pits with a loose wheel. She should still be able to hang on to 6th though, but certainly no higher than that for Kazuma today. But yeah, in the championship standings, Holm is on course for 68 points. Yeah, no, I think mathematically, De Bock might still be eligible for the championship, but Holm will be very much in the driver's seat once we get to Adelaide, and really just has to make sure he doesn't retire immediately after the start of the race. Hawkin makes his final pit stop of the day. And we'll return to the track in 3rd place, although here comes Gary Pacer out of the final corner. I think Hawkin has him covered. And Hawkin will just manage to hang on to 3rd here. Looks like Nicolas probably a bit too far back to mount a charge at Pacer for that 4th place. McManus, yeah, he's not looking like he'll threaten Holm's fastest lap. So Holm very much, although I think he would prefer to seal off this race with a win. I think he'll definitely take the 68 points he's on course to earn here today. Actually, Nicola was 2 seconds quicker than Gary Pacer on that previous lap. As oh goodness, and Nicola they're barging Li Ka-shing out of the way, and Li Ka-shing's race is over, and probably in the way it was always going to end if it was. Nicola here doesn't have time to waste stuck behind the young one here. He's got a potential 4th place on the line, and Ka-shing into the wall and out of the race. Ooh, Malish there, getting very locked up around the hairpin, but he keeps it pointed in the right direction. Certainly got a safe advantage over Saint Laurent, so no need for Malish to push this thing to get it home. I think really the only battle we're seeing on the racetrack is potentially the battle for 4th. Pacer comes through another 1 minute 22 second lap. And Nicola with a 1 minute 21 seconds. So it's 1.4 seconds difference between them, even despite the contact Nicola made with Lee through the Williams corner. As we sit here on lap 68. Of course, Pacer probably going to be getting a penalty for his collision with Bradley Dagnall. He'll still at least want to be finishing off this race in 4th place if he can hang on to it. Although Nicola definitely closing in rapidly on the Cascadia. As you can see here through the this very technical portion that ends the lap here. Nicola, even in spite of the fact that the Cascadia has quite a bit more downforce than Nicola's Holiday, the tire difference at this stage of the race is such that Nicola is just eating up that gap between himself and Pacer corner by corner here. Pacer comes through, and the gap between them reduced to just 1.6 seconds. I think it's really only going to be a matter of time before Nicola finds a way around Gary Pacer. He's not going to be getting it done into the hairpin here, but I think through this next sequence of corners, he'll definitely be putting himself into position to have a move set up for the first corner. As McManus now begins the penultimate lap of this Japanese Grand Prix. Nicola in prime position to take this 4th place, and there's absolutely nothing Gary Pacer can do. He's just going to have to yield and watch the Holiday drive through into 4th place. As we see our race leader is into the pits. Oh my goodness! Michael McManus is into the pits with a loose wheel on the final lap of the race. Edvard Holm is going to retake the lead here. McManus is going to be able to get back out onto the track, but that is a sure race win gone away for Michael McManus, and all Edvard Holm is going to have to do is bring it home here on this final lap. And it's going to be a maximum points haul for Edvard Holm. Started it from the pole. Pulled out to a very solid lead, but lost that due to an unscheduled pit stop after, I believe it was contact with Alberto Cara earlier in this race. Fell behind Michael McManus. Still had the quickest car, but could not make any inroads into McManus's lead. Holm has been absolutely metronomic throughout this race otherwise though, and has been putting himself in prime position, and now when the shoe is on the other foot and Michael McManus has to pit for an issue of his own on the final lap, it's Edvard Holm who's in position to pick up the pieces, and Edvard Holm has won the Japanese Grand Prix. A superb drive from the Dane, and if he's not mathematically secured the title at this stage, I think it's really only a mathematical possibility that he could lose it at this stage. Riley Griffith brings it home in 11th, last car running. Pierre Saint-Laurent, a solid 8 for him. Tomo Cosma, solid points for 6th. Keeps Holiday in a good position championship-wise. McManus will be disappointed to bring it home in 2nd place, but it's another double podium for Scorpio. It's going to be Aurora Summers, which is 10th. Alberto Cara 9th. Hawkin completes the podium. And Philippe Nicolas coming through here to pick up 4th place. Gary Pacer will finish 5th. And now we just wait for Václav Malish to come through the final couple of corners here. And the Czech driver will pick up a well-deserved 7th place finish. So that is indeed a win for Edvard Holm, and a 18th place finish for Yaël de Bock. That water leak might just be it for the Drivers' Championship. Holm with the maximum 70 points from this race. Yaël de Bock, in fact, loses the third fastest lap to Terry Hawkin in the closing laps here, so it's only a 16-point haul from this race for Yaël de Bock, and I think with that, that is the Drivers' Championship settled, because that is a 71-point gap between de Bock and Holm, with only 70 points on the board in Adelaide. Edvard Holm is your 2025 Drivers' Champion. Of course, the Constructors Championship is going to be a bit more up for grabs. Sorry, did you say something, Miguel?
No, I said GG, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a new champion on the block.
Indeed, and it's Edvard Holm, and the Simpson crew are going to be absolutely ecstatic with this, and none more so than perhaps everybody's favorite llama, Stefan. I'll just try and do the calculations here for the Constructors Championship, see where that stands currently. Just give me a minute while I work this out. So Holiday are on 834 points. Euromotor are on 767, so that is a 67-point deficit. So they're probably not really going. So unless I mean, there could always be massive swings in terms of the Constructors Championship, but that is going to require probably a double DNF for Holiday and a very good result for Euromotor to overhaul that kind of deficit. Simpson came in with 715 points, so. Of course, Final Watson's early retirement is going to really hurt Simpson's hopes of claiming the Constructors' Championship, defending their championship from last season, but they'll overtake Euromotor in the standings and now are only 47 points back. Still quite the deficit to have to overcome, though. Cascadia, of course, are going to be very much ruining De Bock's title, De Bock's retirement, because that's surely going to very much hurt their hopes of claiming this championship. On 706. And... yeah, Cascadia are still fourth in the Constructors, I believe, 70 points behind Holiday. Checkmate are on 60. So Checkmate enter the final race 104 points down, so they're effectively out of it, because they're not going to be getting any faster slap points with the Bentley, the Skoda engine. So Checkmate effectively eliminated, and Scorpio might still be in it thanks to the double podium, which would be very surprising, but that is the kind of performances McManus and Hawken have been putting in for the team. In fact, Scorpio has suddenly jumped up into third in the championship, but 1 point behind Simpson. So Holiday in the Constructors Championship, which is the one up for grabs next time out in Adelaide. Definitely they've got the advantage, but it is still open for one of 4 other teams to claim it from them. And that is it for us from the Japanese Grand Prix. We'll see you at the final showdown, the Adelaide Street Circuit for the Australian Grand Prix. We'll see you there.